You go to file it.
Paper, what's that? Thanks, sir.
Well, good morning. Welcome to the October 19th meeting of the Riley County Commission. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have Commissioner Ford on Zoom. Good morning.
He didn't stand.
Yeah, you didn't stand. No, I can't hear you though.
He's muted.
Okay, whatever.
I'm here. Yeah.
There you are. Okay. Okay, we will go to public comment. Do we have any this morning? John, do you have any public comment? Elizabeth?
I have my own comments.
Okay. All right, then we'll go to commission comments. Commissioner McKinnon.
Okay. Yesterday, I attended the Juvenile Detention Board meeting. There'd been a discussion about expanding by adding a facility at the old Saline County Jail. And we hired an architect to look into it to see if the space would work and how it would work. And he made a presentation yesterday, had a good presentation of what it would take. Did a space analysis showing how much we need. And then he also did the pricing. And surprising that prices came in more than double what we could financially afford to do to make it financially viable. The cost was, as we all know, construction costs.
What was the square foot? Do you remember?
It was like 270 square foot.
Yeah, I'm hearing 300 for renovation.
That's what I know. That's what you think. That's what, and I told him, I said, and he said, 20 years ago, I wouldn't have believed these numbers. And I said, 5 and 10 years ago, when I was doing this, I wouldn't have believed these numbers. I said, but we just did a couple of projects and seeing the price. And I said, that's, yeah.
I still don't believe the numbers.
Prices better. Then also yesterday afternoon, I did vote. The early voting, very easy.
How'd the new process go?
Went great, very easy to follow. So that's what I've got.
Okay. John, do you want to comment this morning or you want to hold on?
I do.
Okay.
I do. That's probably all you're going to hear from me, and then I'll probably just be in listen mode for the rest of the meeting because, as you can tell in the background, I'm driving this morning. I'll be quick and brief. Did have a law board meeting on Monday. Pretty basic and standard. We did pass our consent agenda. Didn't hear anything from the public. Got an update from the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 17. Just making plans on working on, I guess it's cops with kids or kids with cops this year. Kind of the Christmas thing for disadvantaged kids, and working on making a few changes and looking to raise about $12,000 this year for that to make that a success. So we're looking to donate a few extra dollars over the holidays. It's a good cause to donate to. Didn't really have anything pressing from the board. We did discuss the Genesis contract, which actually is now no longer in place. They're actually working that month to month and need to discuss where to go in the future with that. Have some ideas on it. Got into kind of a robust conversation on that because of yours truly. I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth on that in our meeting on Monday, and I've got a couple of ideas on that. Outside of that, we had an MPO meeting yesterday, just kind of getting through the end of the year stuff with, as we typically do. Had an amendment to the Unified Work Program. Had a couple of people from KDOT discuss the carbon reduction program, the EV readiness program, the transportation demand portal, and some things that we're going to work on in 2024. Everything's healthy in terms of financials. There's something coming in from the bipartisan infrastructure law that will actually reduce our local match once everything appropriations to pass through the federal government, which, as we know, is all up in the air right now. But we figure it's going to happen at some point in time. Should reduce everything by another about 2.5%. So that'll come off. For us, it's not a lot, but every little bit helps, right? So, and we went through and did our formal evaluation of Jared. Everything's fine. We hope that he's going to stay at that position for a long, long time. He's doing a really good job. And let's see what else. I'm missing something there, but must not be important if I can't remember it. Rich, I've got a couple of things for you. The copier is out of color ink or a color ink. I'm not for sure. Might check on that and let Cindy know that I'm going to be running a little late with my comments for the minutes. I probably won't have those in until later this afternoon. Just with everything going on, that's just the way it's going to work. And lastly, somebody left me a package. This is pretty cool. It was a book called Rising to Greatness, kind of a biography of Abraham Lincoln, and it was signed by the author and signed to me, but I don't know who dropped the package off. Any idea?
I do not. I can check.
What was the name of the
Okay,
book?
I'm just curious because it's called Rise to Greatness, and I can't tell you the author's name right off the top of my head. I was aware of the book and I saw it on Amazon at some particular point in time and was thinking about grabbing it. It's not a cheap book either. I got to figure it's somebody who probably knows me because there's a couple elements there, but I just would like to be able to say thanks to that person, whomever it is. They didn't leave any other information other than just the book, which is very appreciated, by the way. Yeah, if you could check on that, that'd be great. I'm not hopeful anyway, but just in case. And outside of that, all I have to say is go Indians, go Cats, and go Jaguars tonight. And that's all I've got.
Okay, well, you have a safe trip.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Well, my comments, and it's been kind of a quiet week, kind of. Monday afternoon, I met with Shelley Woodard to make a plan for going forward with the Keats project. We'll try to reach the property owner, which I did this way a couple times on his cell phone. Tried to set an in-person meeting. I have not heard back from him. So we have been working on a letter to go out to the homeowner or the property owner this week, and that should be going out today, I'm hoping. Then Tuesday, I had a doctor's appointment that included some injections, pretty much did me in for the rest of the day. And then Wednesday, I had my furnace checked for winter season, spent time working on the letter to the Keats people. And updated my home computer to Windows 11, which is a mistake, but I understand we have to do it here too. Hopefully I'll get my computer fixed this afternoon because it messed up a lot of things. So that I'm used to, unfortunately. And last night I attended bell choir practice at the church. Fortunately, we had a full practice group so we could work on some things. But that's it for me.
Good for business commissioners.
Yes.
First item we have change order number 1, 2023 asphalt overlay program.
It's like it's gone down, which is great.
Yeah.
Have any comments on that, John? Yes, he's got.
I don't.
Okay.
I move to approve the change order to reduce the total project cost to $1,154,480.40.
I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded to approve the change order to reduce the total project cost to $1,154,480.40. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair, please sign. Just one, actually. Thank you. Next, I need a motion to approve bid for Reese Construction Company, Inc. in the amount of $361,981.98 for Fancy Creek Bridge Replacement Project.
Any questions?
I don't have it.
All right. Move to approve the bid from Reese Construction for the Fancy Creek Bridge in the amount of $361,981.98.
I second that. So moved and seconded to approve the bid from Reese Construction Company for the Fancy Creek Bridge in the amount of $361,981.98. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next item, need a motion to approve payroll and accounts payable.
Move to approve payroll and accounts payables.
I'd second that. It's been moved and seconded to approve payroll and accounts payables. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
On both sides, please.
All both.
All both. Bad habits.
All three of us could sign if you'd let me use my stamp, Rich.
Don't worry, John, I'll use it.
Send a copy to the state.
You. Any changes to the minutes, commissioners?
I didn't have anything.
I didn't see anything. Did you have any changes, John, or are you still there?
I did not.
Okay.
I'd move to approve the minutes of the October 16th meeting as presented.
It's been it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the Raleigh County Commission from October 16th as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How the tentative agendas look, commissioners? Any items for next week's press conference? Of course, I'll be on there for elections.
No, I don't see anything. At this point, anyway.
Sounds good. Next, we have Catherine Hensler at 9 o'clock. Here's, John, you still on?
I am.
Yeah, just wanted to update the board. Staff had a meeting with city staff and architect for the city's proposed Seco Park project out at Public Works. John Ellerman was there. And Schwab Eaton was there. I believe that's who it was. And kind of discussed, they were asking, really what the rodeo could do without as far as parking. And really, Gary Fike was there. Gary Fike's stance is it took them, even towards the end of the meeting, they just weren't listening and didn't want to give up on it. But the bottom line was, and I made it clear to the city and the architects, that Gary does not want to give up any of the gravel parking, and he does not want any more gravel encroached on the grass because they use it for the rodeo, and asphalt is not conducive to having the rodeo if it's going to stay there long term. But it took a little bit of, I had to repeat that. Gary said it once and they still didn't listen. I had to repeat it like 3 more times at the end. And here's exactly what he's saying. No, it doesn't work. And so, and I let them know that the county commissioners aren't thrilled about giving up any additional land
for city or school district activities at this time, but that you decision makers will have a meeting all together to really hash that out.
Good. So
So
did
I
they,
just-
did they actually get it then as far as the asphalt and all, did they?
At the end, they finally did. Yeah, I mean, it was Kelly that was there with BHS, and he asked it one more time at the end, and I don't know why they weren't giving up. I said, no, Gary made it clear and clear. I said, Gary, correct me if I'm wrong. And Gary didn't say as much. And so I had to kind of speak up and say, no, they want to leave the gravel as is and the grass as is, if we're going to continue to have the rodeo and fair operations there, because it's needed.
Yeah.
And so
If I can interject, was there any real reason given as to why they're asphalting that to begin with? I mean, why is that a need?
yeah, their reasoning is because, you know, if they're going to improve and enhance the baseball, the whole intention of improving the baseball area is to get more tournaments and stuff in the area and make it a nicer facility. Because asphalt, as we know, and everyone agrees, you know, the parking on the south end with the fair is just a nightmare because you can't efficiently park people in non-marked slots. And so asphalt is a much more efficient way for parking of vehicles to get the most numbers in there. And so that's their reasoning why.
Okay, I can go with that. It just, for me, I mean, baseball tournaments or not, you're only really using that particular facility 3-4 months out of the year. I mean, basically. And so maybe you could do soccer or something in between there to add time to it, but it's not a 365 day a year type of usage. So to me, on the outset of just that, it seems like a little bit of overkill, and that's the reason why I asked the question.
Well, and John Ellerman was there, and Kelly with BHS, who both live in that area. And Gary pointed out, and they acknowledge, you know, that big area parking, the gravel and the grass is used about 5 times out of the year for other big livestock events. It's not just the rodeo. So
Yeah.
and John's attested to, you know, many times that whole area is packed
Sure.
with large trucks, large trailers, livestock, and even Garrick with Bruce McMillan, he was there and he grew up on the farm and showed cattle. And he says, yeah, asphalt's not conducive to animals and livestock being on it and trailers. And so he understood, but it took a little while to get the point across that Gary really doesn't want any of it changed at this point.
Well, yeah.
Well, and that coupled with the fact that it's also at the end of July, which is 8,000 degrees with 8,000% humidity, which isn't conducive for anything living to be standing on there for any long periods of time.
Yeah, that was brought up. I said, yeah, when it's 100 degrees and then 140 degrees on the asphalt for the animals, it is not conducive. And so there's one gentleman from Schwab Eaton that kind of pushed back and said, well, it's too bad, you know, it's a community park. But I pointed out it may be a community park, but 3 entities legally own 3 different sections. And so.
Well, and that's not remiss to say that it can't still be a community park and used in a way that's still vital, both in the present and the future. It's not out of the question.
And I explained to him that the county commission, you know, is considering, you know, what to do with the fair and the rodeo. And if it is to stay there, even reconfiguring it on the county's existing property. And then if we give up property to the school district and the city, that limits what the county can do with their parcel. So they didn't like hearing a lot of what I said, but I tried to reiterate the commission stance.
Yeah. Sounds like you did that. So when are we discussing this at the?
That's at the city county
The
meeting
next-
where we invited 383.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that week or
I think so.
Excuse me?
that's next week?
Next
I believe so.
I think.
Thursday next week.
Yeah, it would be a Thursday for sure.
It was supposed to be today, but because of events that are happening in Kansas City, we pushed it to next Thursday to make it work.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's right.
Thursday, the 26th. Yep. Remember, it's at the city offices.
City
because-
offices.
Yeah.
We're hosting it though.
Correct.
So that's going to be fun.
That's just discussion that needs to be had and discussion on planning for that overall area.
Could have been had a long time ago.
Well, and that's what I reiterated too. I said, you know, we got a couple commissioners been here a couple years and it was just brought up in December and that's the first time they heard about it. I mean, how would you like to be in their shoes? I mean, you should have been educating the commissioners all the way through it. That way we could have been planning on what we want to do. And so Wyatt did ask, if he could get on the commission agenda to discuss, their plans or to answer any questions you guys have. And I said, we'll get you on the agenda anytime you want. Just call up and we'll get you on the agenda and he can come and make a presentation to you.
Well, they made that presentation, unless they've changed it at the intergovernmental last months ago. So unless they've changed it, there's no reason for it.
Yeah, I just trying to think they're trying to.
I took that as more as maybe updates to
Possibly.
Updates to it.
and how frequent
And to try and
data.
do a
Well,
better
it
job,
would give you an opportunity to answer those questions that you have about.
a better job of communication and maybe. I
Mhm.
mean, they felt, since they were having some meetings and it was that's one thing to emphasize. Well, it was a voter approved issue. I said, well, it was a city voter approved issue. This is county land. So it's just.
Well, and I don't think any of those voters, including myself, remember that they said 11, specifically 11 tennis courts. I don't know if that's really valid after all these years. I guess it is. Who would fight it if they said we're just going to redo what we got? So
Well, it kind of has to be valid now because it was put on the actual ballot, so it's legal and has to be done. But
where are they going
maybe
to
they
put?
could get creative and repurpose it for other usage at the same time. It's kind of difficult to do, but I don't know.
He said, well, I have to have 12 courts to have a tournament.
We've got a lot of land over
Maybe
there.
they can make everybody happy and try to figure out a way to configure a Red Lobster into the equation.
I had to say it.
Still the
I
Red
had to
Lobster.
say Red Lobster.
Everybody wants it. It's been years and years. Big blending.
Come on, Catherine.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So there's an editorial article in Mercury again talking about Seco Park saying, well, it's cooperatively owned by 3 communities. No, but it's divided. They don't understand it's not. It's divided up.
Mhm.
All you have to do is look on GIS.
Yeah.
See.
Each entity has legal deeded rights to that section.
And it's no
The legal
interference
description.
on the commission's part
Yeah.
when you start talking about using land that's titled to.
Yeah.
You pulled that title for a reason.
Well, like I told one, they were kind of pushing back and I said, like, one guy, well, say you're my neighbor and I design a garage and it just so happens to go on your side of the property. And I say, oh, here's where my new garage is going to go. How well are you going to accept that?
What'd they say to that? Anything?
No, nothing. Quiet crickets.
I wonder why they hired those people before they even talked to us, as far as the architect and that. That's an expense that the city has to bear.
At least the furniture lady is, so
Okay, did he need upstairs?
he will. Susan, I think, is going to take off.
Okay.
That question, if you want to go ahead, on up. Yep. That was the first I got. Yeah. Now.
Then we'll go through. Well, it's gonna be probably.
That. Yes, we got to talk.
Rich, freedom.
New projects,
Got what?
New projects,
New project?
yeah.
or to add to the checklist.
Never ending.
Tell me about it.
Hey.
Thanks.
Okay, they called, yeah, they called me and they said, well, I do. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, it got real empty in here, didn't it?
Catherine knows how to clear out a room.
Oh, I guess.
Want to say that? See, check that out. I promise, everything we're gonna talk about today is positive.
Yeah,
Good, we can use positive.
yes, very much so.
Fun reports.
Okay, we're ready for you then.
Okay.
All right.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. Catherine Hunsler, Museum Director. Coming to you this morning with our monthly staff update. As usual, we'll start with visitation and tours. In the month of September, we have 139 visitors to the museum, 27 to the Goodnoe House, 16 at the Wolf House, and the Pioneer Log Cabin saw 41 visitors. All of our numbers are down slightly with our usual larger museums, but we had great numbers for Pioneer Log Cabin, and we're really finding that well, it's kind of a discreet little museum in the middle of City Park. People wander in through curiosity. Our log cabin host, who is hired by the Historical Society, has been putting up small exhibits and doing hands-on interactive interpretations, and we've noticed that really brings people in. So while the numbers are lower in most cases, they are higher on that site, and you know, as we do, we learn as we go. Volunteers for the month totaled, these are our regular volunteers, about 26.25 hours. They were generated by 6 returning volunteers, and we also had 2 community service workers in the month of September who assist generally with outdoor cleanup of the museum, the Goodnoe House, and the Wolf House. And they also help us with external cleaning, such as washing our windows and cleaning up the vestibule and the foyer. Additionally, the Historical Society Board of Directors put in about 40 hours. And our, I guess I mentioned we had 2 community service workers, but they put in a total of 19 hours, bringing our volunteer hours up to almost 84 in the month of September. In our realm of education and outreach, we stay busy as usual. We had our monthly fireside chat on September the 12th, and we hosted a downtown historic points walking tour. So curator Highsmith and myself took a group of 38. We split that group in half, and we meandered about the 300 and 400 block of Points Avenue, and just talked about the early history of downtown Manhattan. We also, just had our October fireside chat on the 10th, and it was with Zoos in America, and Melissa Kirkwood with Sunset Zoo came out. They're celebrating their 90th anniversary this year. September 14th, we hosted 2 tours from K-State, 2 different departments, brought 2 different groups. So we handled 2 different topics. One was about interpretation and communication at historic sites, and the other was the hospitality department wanted to learn about historical dining areas, place settings, and service. September 8th, we attended our regular K-Man in Focus segment. That was done by curator Highsmith, and because it's October and we always get requests for haunted stories. We will not do haunted stories or ghost stories. We did want to give our community what they were asking for a little bit. So she touched on funerary and mourning practices in the Victorian era of Manhattan. And this is also a topic we've been bringing up now and again as marketing. We will be opening an exhibit at the Wolf House in January that deals with this topic. But as usual, we're always on K-Man on the 3rd Monday of each month. And next month, we'll be talking about the historic Marlette property. Also on the same day, I traveled to Topeka to meet with the Freedoms Frontier National Heritage Area Partners meeting. They're getting kind of their steam back up after the COVID shutdown, and they had a similar issue to us as far as losing their longtime director and some of their key staff positions. So they're back on track, and so are we, and so we're going to begin those meetings again. Freedoms Frontier is endorsed by the National Park Service, and it's really essential in telling the story of the buildings, telling the stories and building awareness of our region's role in the Kansas and Missouri border war, the Civil War, and the settlement of the Western frontier, and the enduring struggle for freedom. So we are eligible through the Goodnoe House State Historic Site, and it's a really great group. There's over 300 partners all together in the region. 24 partners attended that meeting, and we come together to talk about programs, strategies, and funding opportunities. On the 23rd, Curator Highsmith and myself traveled to Abilene, Kansas to attend a historic gravestone restoration workshop. We noted that we actually do not have any effort like this in Riley County, and we're interested in bringing some sort of educational component to our community. The program was run by Healthy Headstones Incorporated, which is a professional group that is educated in the restoration and conservation of historic cemeteries. And we will be working with her in the future, potentially next spring, of bringing our own workshop here to our community and just fostering the knowledge and the interest and the awareness of conservation of our local cemeteries. Moving into the collections department in the month of September, 9 donations of objects came in, and I always put this in when we say 9 donations, that means 9 donors, not 9 items. In those 9, amongst those 9 donors, there were 46 individual items that came in. Curator Munger was able to process 4 backlog collections that totaled 39 items, and then the museum accession for essentially found in collection items. In archives and library, excuse me, Curator Glasgow managed 6 incoming patron requests for the public, and then 4 requests internally. There were 3 appointments made to use the research library, and 2 walk-in patrons came in. And she continues to follow up with outstanding requests submitted previously. These research requests can vary. Some take 20 minutes to accomplish, some take 4 months to accomplish. Sometimes she is able to handle these requests solo. Other times we bring in our museum assistants to assist, and also we have a pretty great group of volunteers that can help conduct with these research requests. As far as building and grounds, always nice to report when no major issues concerning the museum's building occur. So no issues with the museum's maintenance, the building or grounds. So, and also we always like to send a shout out to the Public Works team and the Parks team who have kept the museum looking great this season. I will note that, and I brought this up at a couple other previous meetings, we have had a rolling dumpster on site most of the summer, and we've been cleaning out the Goodnoe barn and the little cabins on the site. It's been full of non-collection items, and as you know, this is an ongoing project of just cleaning out all the space. So the dumpster is gone for now, but if funds are still available towards the end of the year, we would like to bring it back in December and or January. It's actually a whole lot easier to work when it's cold out than it is when it's 100 degrees. But as you know, it's going to take a number of different returns of the dumpster to get these buildings cleaned out. I will note as well, we have 2 separate budgets. We've got the budget through the county. We also have the budget through the Historical Society. And so we're able to utilize society funds as well for that. So it's not something that the county's been paying for. As far as special projects, we have been updating some of our walking tour scripts. We have really found that those walking tours are a hit, and we want to become a little more diverse and be able to offer some additional tours. So we've been working on a new historic Sunset Cemetery walking tour. So back by popular demand, we had a really great turnout last year. We will be hosting this year, but we couldn't get it in before the end of October just because of the game schedule and how busy the month has become. So we will be offering this program on Saturday, November 4th from 10 until noon. And there is a $5 recommended, or I should say suggested donation. Any proceeds will go back to benefit the Historical Society for preservation efforts. And it will be different from last year's script, different layout, different individuals will be showcasing, and also just different volunteers assisting. We also have another volunteer, John Hunter, who has committed to helping us update the city park walking tour. Ideally, we plan to begin offering this tour in the spring of 2024. Previous director Collins had just a wonderful tour that walked through City Park and talked about the Rose Garden and the log cabin, the old fish ponds, and it needs some updating. It hasn't been updated in a while, and things have changed in City Park. But we've had quite a few requests asking, why don't we get that anymore? So we're working on that and look forward to being able to offer it in the spring. And also, this was just a little going forward, rather than looking at the month in review, on October 28th, the Goodnow House Historic Site is going to host its first wedding. It's something we hadn't really planned for, but we had somebody reach out, and it is a game day. Just a very small, intimate wedding party. Because this building is property of the state, they do have all the infrastructure in place as far as use agreements. I will be managing and supervising this rental, but it has nothing to do with the county, just more of, did you know you could rent our sites for weddings and special occasions? I will say the space is small, so it's just a group of 7, but it'll work perfectly for them. So we're looking forward to that, maybe becoming a bit more involved in just some offerings of special events. Discussing a little bit about what's going on with the Historical Society. Excuse me. The board voted last week to fully replace the Wolf House Museum roof. It's in terrible condition. Excuse me, and we are concerned just about its condition and entering into this fall and winter season. So that vote was made last week, and it'll be a full replacement on the Wolf House Museum, which is a Historical Society property, which means it will be fully funded by the Historical Society, and no funding from the county will be coming from that. They also decided at the same time that they would like to replace the roof on the studio, which is another building I've brought up in a couple of reports, also in great need of that new roof. So they've selected their contractor, and we're just moving forward with that. Hopefully it can occur sooner rather than later, because winter is right around the corner. We have worked with the state historic preservation officer to make sure that we're providing or replacing the current product with the most historically accurate product that we can find that also offers longevity. So you will see a lot of activity down at that property this fall. There is a potential that the site will have to close to the public for a short time, but as I understand it, the contractor we selected is very quick and very efficient. So if you see anything happening down there, that is what's going on. The Historical Society hosted their quarterly speaker series on September 19th at Lazy Team Ranch, and their speaker was Ron Wilson, who spoke on the landmark civil rights case of Chief Standing Bear from 1879, and how he had ties to Raleigh County. It was a wonderful presentation. It was attended by 69 attendees, and that was a ticketed event. So the presentations are always free, but we ate dinner there, and there was a cost for dinner. Jumping real quick into upcoming events, I won't go through all of these. But the important things, I think, are we are going to be celebrating Halloween at some of our sites this year. So the last day for the log cabin to be open is October 29th. And so we're going to invite people to come and trick or treat at that. So there'll be candy for the kids. And adults, anyone can trick or treat. We're not going to discriminate. But we'll also have a special exhibit going on that afternoon. And our museum assistant, Derek Doty, will be hosting that and leading that. Admission to the Pioneer Log Cabin is always free. So if anyone wants to come out and check it out, it's free. And our last day will be October 29th before we close for the season. We'll reopen that again in April of 2024. On October 31st, we'll be hosting trick-or-treating at the museum. And of course, again, museum is free. We just encourage anybody to come in costume and trick-or-treat with us. And then later that evening, we'll be heading over to Bewitching at West Loop. We'll have students with some decorations. We'll hand out some marketing material and more candy. So also on the 25th of this month, I'll be teaching a class for UFM titled Finding Comfort in the Wake of War. This will be at Meadowlark. There is a cost to it. It's not something that the museum charges. It's just something that UFM charges for participation. There are still spots. And then November 9th at 6 p.m., the Raleigh County Historical Society annual meeting will be taking place. We invite you to join us. There will be dinner, and then there will be a fabulous presentation by David C., the owner of Regulator Time Company, who restored the historic Raleigh County Courthouse block. Beyond that, we have a bunch of other things going on, but I won't take up any more time. Do the commissioners have any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Catherine. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too.
Next commissioner is Amy Mangus, 9:15.
That's okay. Morning,
Good morning.
Amy Mangus, registered deeds. You're a hard act to follow there, Catherine. You've got so many exciting things going on.
They're spicing up a little bit, Amy.
You too. Well, I am here today with a brief summary on our revenue figures through October 16th at 3 o'clock with comparable figures from the year before. As you can see, our numbers are still looking very different from 2022. We're about a little over 402 million behind in indebtedness. Looking at sales for that time frame, we had almost 1,400 in 2022 compared to 1,019 this year. We've recorded 4,881 documents compared to 6,414 last year. And all of these items affect our various budgets, you know, for recording fees, Heritage Trust, and our check funds. I did notice here on my sheet this morning, as I was double checking myself, that I forgot to update the plats. Those numbers should actually be 18 plats for 22 with 59 lots and 25 plats for this year with 68 lots. We're seeing a few new subdivisions versus a lot of replatting that was going on last year. We are still scanning books 239 through 332. If you wonder why it's taking so long, those are all negative images. So you might scan a page 10, 15 times to get a good reversed image. So it's going to be a project that's going to take probably a couple years. It's just something that they can work on, you know, in between daily business. We're continuing to cross-train employees and tracking revenue loss for the year so far for filing a mortgage registration fee changes. We're down a little over $500,000. That number is obviously less this year as we have less recordings and it's less money that we're losing. But otherwise, there's not much going on in the office. Any questions or?
I don't think so.
All right.
Thanks, Amy. Have a good
Thank you.
weekend.
Hey, you too.
Next commissioners, you have Mr. Holman at 9:30. Got a little break here.
Good morning.
Any Saturday? I'll be good. I mean, nice weather again. Already with all weather out.
So that's fine. Yeah. Yes. My grandmother is. She is the waitress.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she went to the first couple. Yes, we better try to get back. She. Better cut that number. She's big.
I think.
That's about my thing. I agree with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And I have.
I can't eat that.
Yeah. And so she, and Jan likes to watch the game.
I have a granddaughter playing on board.
She like one of the games, she can't follow on TV, it's not even what's going on, said, she's learned to appreciate the game on TV. Because they, until replays and see what happens, so that the game might get.
There's no one telling you what position did what.
Yeah.
The game, they say, corner set, we have to figure out who to see what.
You take off every run, I lose the ball half time, and. Yeah. But only 3 weeks with basketball. That's fair enough, so for sure. November 1st is. State.
Yeah, I'm to see, other than double the quarterbacks this weekend.
Yeah. That's it, we're pushing it in front of it. Saying we wanted, or people wanted, Will has a. Because last year you been.
Yeah, he didn't get banged up that one game. That says that.
Bill, no, that's the Providence, but I'm telling you. And also, if the concern that he get hurt, he's got a pretty good backup. It'd be okay.
But the thing is too, I mean, the injury, wherever it is, obviously the local body, impacts the money, but it could, I mean, with the impacts in planting and throwing good too.
That's always have to game to say it. If it's, if it's back,
Or either like even the front, once you release them football pressure on that, so it could be. But honestly, the receivers aren't getting open. I will think about it. I think it's open and then missing the opportunity to get it there too, because. 7, 8.
Yeah, like the game, they want this, yeah, he has a vote,
That's the thing, it's not the time.
saying that we. Third time and we left the house. Down there fairly late, seeing that, because when you change.
Second how that's kind of developed, we didn't have a rivalry, with TCU.
Double the quarterbacks, again, running back to both backs, that's a separate game, That's a good thought.
So he was actually hesitating into this game until he took the first hit, and then he said, no impact after that. Yeah. Good. Just one. Video interview. Whatever. It had no impact.
Well, sure that. Next time. This is by that point. Right. Oh, really? Yeah. Wow. You know, that's a heck of a deal. Yeah. We even going to a couple of games, down, go down. We've on the couple 2 years ago. We were doing it at the game, which is 600. And that game's the game.
So what's the spread on the game? Have you heard or do you pay attention to it?
I usually don't follow that. My sons do, but I don't.
I usually ask John.
Yeah.
John, you know? What's the spread on the game Saturday?
6.5.
All righty, thank you. 6.5? Is that what you said? 6.5?
Yeah, K-State, 6.5.
Yeah, I'm cheating. I always ask him what the spread is.
No, I'm kidding you.
It doesn't ever really matter, does it?
Yeah, it never works out real close.
1.5 minus 1.5 last week or something like that. It was crazy.
Well, it kind of can't, because how do you get a half a point in football?
I don't know.
Well, that's for the betters.
Bettors.
Well,
Yeah.
that's not a top.
Commissioner Ford?
Win or lose.
Yeah.
You know, where our counselors older today?
Oh, yeah.
Well, so are you.
Yeah, we're all a day older. Or 2. 3.
And is he a day smarter?
Sure.
How do we mute him again?
I actually think as I get older, I'm actually getting dumber. I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing or not.
Ready, Nancy?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Clancy Holman, Raleigh County Council. Want to touch base on a couple of things just from the ongoing project list. I ceded some time on Monday and didn't go through much just because of another issue that we needed to hear from county clerk on. So I wanted to at least, first of all, I want to talk a little bit about just not so much the project list, but about the ongoing issues statewide with the courts. I kind of made reference to this. One of the issues that it causes, as I understand it, last I knew, and people are going to have to be patient because information they normally would be able to get from the court system, for example, through the court clerk's office. Last I knew, there were limits to what they could even access on existing files. And everything is electronic now. For several years since we went to the statewide electronic filing system for the courts. I'm not saying this is criticism, it's just a fact. That's been the only way attorneys can legally file cases, file motions, file anything in a pending case. You're not allowed to file by paper if you're an attorney. In the past, but also at the same time, pro se litigants, people who are representing themselves, had the ability to file paper documents. So I don't know how much of that went on, but certainly the major filings through law firms and through attorneys had to be electronic. And right last I knew, there was no access to that because that's been shut down. The Office of Judicial Administration through the Supreme Court to protect the system and find out what this problem is with the system. I don't have any more information than that. There's no, and I suspect this may go on for a while, like some people are suggesting. Who knows? Maybe it'll all be solved tomorrow. But people will have to be patient because of the limited access that even staff of the courts have to get in and see, well, what is pending? What's the next step in this particular case? It's phenomenal how much we depend on electronic information. And if we're deprived of that, to me, this is kind of an eye opener as to what that can mean and what can mean to any system, such as the courts. Again, not to pick on them, it's just we depend on them so much for that information, and they depend on it to do their work. So it's not as though the harm is one-sided as long as it goes on.
Does that affect the ongoing trials too, or is there?
I don't know what they're doing on that.
I mean, if they can't access their information?
I have no idea, and I haven't bothered to ask because I'm afraid of
Doing it.
So I don't know. I know.
Scorching through the phone with it.
I really don't know. I'm sure they're both, everybody involved on the court side and the county attorney side, I'm sure they're doing the very best they can. They're probably finding a way to do some of the things that just have to be done. You could name any number of things that were, okay, this has to move forward no matter what. And so there's some of that going on. I'll tell you on the appellate side, because I've got just some recent experience on that. We have a pending appeal, of course, the Court of Appeals, and we filed a brief on October 11th electronically. And this, whatever happened, apparently happened on the 12th. And there's some normal delay in that system, even when it's up and operating, when you file something. We know from experience, I think it probably applies anywhere. You get a series of emails from the system that say, okay, your brief has been filed, you get an email back, it's been accepted. Okay, now it's been reviewed. Now it's actually on file. And we got some of that on October 12th. We got something saying it had been accepted, and then we didn't get anything else. And this was right at the beginning when we weren't really sure what was going on. We just knew we were having trouble getting into eFlex the next day to find out, okay, where's the rest of the emails indicating this is, because we know it was filed timely. And we're so glad we got that email back, because we got one back that said your appeal has been accepted. Well, in subsequent conversations, as we got further information statewide, as attorneys did, I realized the courts were saying things like, well, I mean, from the highest levels of the courts, there were a couple of administrative orders out there that said, this is what you need to do. You're going to have to paper file. Now you can paper file, now you can fax file, which has been an option for a long time, but most people haven't been doing it. And as I said, there's a bunch of attorneys that have never had to file by paper because the system has been in place for a few years. And so they're having to kind of go back and relearn, okay, how do I prove that I filed this? How do I prove I served the other side? It's quite the tangled mess. But because of those administrative orders, I realized, well, wait a minute. And I had a conversation with somebody at the Court of Appeals office, clerk's office in the Court of Appeals in Topeka. And I said, hey, I got this email back, so I know it was accepted. And then I found out in that conversation, well, it means it hit our system, but it doesn't mean it was accepted. And in further conversations, I realized, okay, well, I've got to, I'm going to paper file it then. So I went up earlier this week and filed it in paper, just as a safeguard. I'd already notified opposing counsel on the appeal, hey, here's a copy of the brief, since you haven't gotten it by the deadline that's in place. And here's an email that shows it was filed on time. So I'm confident that in the end, there's no way to, I mean, its reality is it was submitted on time. And if the system didn't take it, well, that's really not anybody's issue other than the system. So it'll work out fine, but it was interesting to realize I better go up there and file the thing in paper, because I haven't done that in I don't know how long. So I quickly ran it into Topeka, and I got a chance to go into the clerk of the Court of Appeals. I thought I was going to be in the clerk of the Court of Appeals office, but now they've got, and apparently this has been in place for some time and is unrelated to this current thing that's going on. You don't really go up to the Court of Appeals office. They come down while you wait at security, and then you give them whatever you want them to file. They go file it and then bring you back a file stamped copy, which is fine. I mean, it works fine. And apparently, I talked with the Deputy County Counselor, Shelley Woodard. She was familiar with they did this 3 years ago. It was apparently not even a reaction to COVID. I don't know what the deal is, but it's the building. I'm used to seeing a lot more activity in it than what was going on, because you don't get out of the lobby. You just wait. And I don't think she suggested because I said, well, how do you even get into the library there for the Supreme Court? Go in and look at, if you're a local attorney, you want to go look up something in there and look at the various volumes that maybe you don't have, or you don't have electronic access to. And according to her, you have to make an appointment, call in, and then I guess you get escorted back in or whatever. I don't know, but it's a different world right now in terms of access to some of the things that traditionally you could just go on and see. But going back to the project list, I want to just talk about some kind of the categories of things that received work at various levels. of intensity during the most recent reporting period. One of those is some of these can be grouped. One of them is on a pending appeal, a different pending appeal underway, and did some work on that with various types, and then also under the I'll get to them here. As usual, as is not unusual during a reporting period, very often we'll have more work with one department than another. This most recent period was kind of top heavy with some things involving human resources. We had several different issues that were needed, requested assistance, and we provided that assistance on different items. Then we also had, as I said, these are different. These are two different pending litigation items that required some work, and in the category of pending litigation. And another one that's just a project for a department. Another item was a larger project for public works that involves some communication with a potential vendor, and communication even with the county's insurer on a project that's out there in the future. So just kind of a taste of some of the things that during the last reporting period were done, and work continues even with the courts, even with no electronic filing. There's still plenty to do. And Shelley Deputy Counselor Woodard gets to be bored by my story. It's about, well, back in the day, this is how you did a
Well, was it hacked, or do they know what happened to it, or what?
There hasn't been any information. I think because, to their credit, I don't think they're speculating. They want to know from the experts. Apparently, the KB, as I understand it, KBI, FBI is involved.
Oh, sure.
And some other federal law enforcement also as well, in terms of looking into it. They're gonna figure out what happened. I have no doubt about that. And it may be what I hope. I think probably what most hope is that what they'll find out is, okay, it really didn't need to be shut down as long as you are, because here we've been able to isolate it. We know if there's been any further compromise, what it was. So there's just not a lot of information out there. That's what was the really surprising part when this first happened and the bar started finding out about it. Why isn't this a story? How is this not a story? And I think it was because they, again, didn't want to put anything out there that was just guessing. And the most they will say is there's some kind of, I don't know if they called it a breach or some kind of their security issue that they need to address. So, anything other than that right now, I think other than the people with firsthand knowledge is just speculation. I have no idea. All I know is they're shut down. And it is weird to not be able to go out and I feel bad for members of the public who want to find out where's the pending case of any number of things. It could be, let alone criminal. There's all kinds of things that could be done. It doesn't take much imagination to know what kind of problem it can create. But they've got to find what's wrong and they've got to fix it. So there's my update. Thanks.
Thanks, Lance.
That's it. Okay, thank you.
Next commissioner, you have Gary Fike at 9:50. We've got a little commissioners. You want to give me your scores? Commissioner
Need an overhaul of all their electronic system security.
I'm sorry.
Give me a few minutes here. I'm think about this.
I'm sorry, John.
It's about overall.
I was saying, this kind of goes back to COVID and the overhaul of just cybersecurity in general, because, the unemployment system got hacked into. There's been several other systems along the way that got hacked into. Sounds like to me there needs to be some dollars invested in just the security of all those systems. It's just that important.
Could be. Certainly shows how dependent we are on them.
Yeah.
Who's got to be quarterback today?
That's a $1 million question. Who's going to be quarterback? Who's going to be running back? Those are both good questions.
Oh,
I'm not sure they know at this time. They probably have a plan, and then we'll see what their defense does.
Well, I know the depth chart was listed 4.
Yep. So
on
Commissioner,
both.
Commissioner Ford on my way to work texted me early his score 34-24 K-State. So whenever
I think I'll go. I think we're getting our groove back. I'm gonna say 42-21.
Well, I've got 45-37.
ooh, nice scoring game.
Yeah, that's if they put in Avery.
Birthday boy?
36-22 K-State.
Is there money involved with this?
Not in the camera. We're not on the camera.
No, it's just, we'll see.
Absolutely.
Just for fun, Gary. I had previously put down 31-17 K-State.
Okay.
As long as they get in, I do not care.
Yeah, I know.
No, we have yet to hit our 50 points per game they announced at the beginning of the
Yeah.
season they were planning on getting.
They're trying for it.
And we also have yet to get a punt or kickoff return for a touchdown. Pretty late in the year.
Yep.
Yeah, if it was gonna happen, you'd think it'd happen by now. Usually get those earlier in the year.
I just don't think we have the dynamic returner we once had, you know. We've had so many of them, really dynamic ones. I just don't think we have a dynamic one. They're good, but
Yeah,
Well, I just don't think the emphasis isn't on what it used to be either.
I know the one kid, the one captain that's on there, he's really trying to push the emphasis now. I think his last name Porter, maybe?
Oh,
Seth Porter.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
he's the one who made a couple of big stops.
He's really pushing lately, they say, to reinvigorate the special teams. He's on all of them and he's really trying to push for it.
I think
Hunter's been
Brooks
great.
has got to show at least
Hmm?
one.
Hunter has been
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yep.
I think part of it too is just the change in the rules. You know, you can just kind of fair catch it from anywhere and you start at the 25-yard line. So in terms of scheming and field position, it kind of changes how you approach it.
It doesn't. Somehow they missed. I just read a note signing.
That's our best.
Megan's.
It's countywide. I don't know how you-
If they're not, I don't know. I just, please, Commissioners, I don't know, I did it like a week ago.
Yeah, no problem.
Can I just, you want me to just leave this with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
We'll get it back to you, man.
Okay, now I'm gonna not get my.
You can leave the cash.
Some coffee.
Thanks, Shelley.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner, is a certificate of recognition for Megan Lewis for 15 years of service. So it was not signed, like they have it signed by all of them.
Oh, missed it in the stack.
Evidently. Or probably wasn't in the stack evidently because no one signed it. Yeah. Commissioner Ford.
Rich, you can just use my stamp.
We do all the time, John.
Your visa.
Except for a band.
Catherine, there's a certificate of recognition for Megan Lewis. It got missed in the signatures that needs to be signed, please. Shelley Williams put it in.
Oh, okay. This in black or does it?
It does not matter. Whatever you.
Blue. Put it in John's box.
Yes, yeah, sure. It's.
No, I'm not. Northeast County meeting we have coming up.
Northeast Kansas County officials meeting.
Yeah, when does that get over?
They're usually over right after lunch, around 1:30.
Okay. Okay,
Yep. They usually serve a lunch, have door prizes, and everyone exits.
okay, yeah.
And the business meetings usually, because I was thinking about that too, in the business meeting, usually just a discussion of who's next.
Yep, and approval of the
Since
minutes of the last one and all that
rotating.
good stuff. Yeah.
I don't think it generally takes very long.
No, it does not.
Last year, last year they had that tour up in
Yeah.
Marysville. That was kind of,
That was really.
yeah. It was that.
Valley Vets, I had always heard about it, but I had no idea. And even from the highway, you see this little building that
It looked like way back there.
goes back there. It's a giant place.
Yeah, I tell you, the thing I enjoyed the most, I went early on in my career, that Flint Hills Regional Leadership Program. And it's just amazing, because we went to different communities, Pot County and others, all the business and different things you're not aware of. It's just right here. And even, some of the scenic spots and that you've never seen before. It's like, it's very educational.
Yeah.
Valley Vet is huge.
Yeah.
The which?
Valley Vet.
Oh, yeah.
They ship all over the United States. But buy almost everything from them,
That's why from
vaccines.
up that direction to Landau.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
huge
Landau.
worldwide.
Yeah.
It's like we had a presentation on that. I was like, holy
And when he started basically out of his garage.
I know,
Yeah.
it's quite a story.
Down a globe.
It is quite a story. You guys ready for Mr. Fike?
Yeah, sure.
All right, good morning, commissioners. Good morning, Commissioner Board from afar. I've just got a brief update this morning on what's happening with our office. Megan Doherty is working with Medicare Part D right now. She's in the thick of that. And that will go until about December 7th or 8th. I forget which date that is, but she's almost entirely fully booked every day through them. So she's busy with that. John and Joe and Brandy Bruna have been working on, we had 4-H week this month. Our 4-H achievement banquet is Sunday evening out at Potter Fall. And we've already got over 200 people signed up for that. The parents, the leaders, the clubs will all get, and that's where we give our year-end recognition. Judging teams, we had livestock judging team and the shooting sports folks and the dog folks, and everybody get their special awards at that time as well. So that's a big deal. We have sponsors for the meal for that, and that will be catered by the Farmhouse Restaurant from Oldsburg and Riley. Then the extension annual meeting, which I think most of you have already signed up for, is going to be November 1st, which is less than 2 weeks away at Sykes Store in Leonardville. And we're looking forward to that. Glenn Bronco, former county agent, ag agent, Potawatomi County, made a trip with Kansas Farm Bureau, with American Farm Bureau, to Africa. And he's going to be presenting a slide presentation on his trip over there of what he all saw and encountered. Rich, I don't know if you've reported to the group on the meeting yesterday or 2 days ago or whenever it was with Schwab Eaton the city and McMillan and BHS Construction, but so you probably are all aware of what went on there. And we have the follow-up meeting, of course, with all three entities next Thursday. So I plan to be there. I think it's at 4 o'clock, right? Next Thursday afternoon. So a week from today, be there. Yesterday, the Riley County Rural Economic Development Board met, and we are working on a program now that will be held tentatively on March 4th, and it's going to be called Focus on Building Rural Communities. Our keynote speaker is going to be a rural sociologist from the University of Minnesota that will be giving kind of an overarching view of what's happening in rural America. And then we're going to have speakers talking about housing, the usual things, housing, healthcare, childcare, and rural businesses. So that's going to be hopefully a large event that we will do in Leonardville again at Sykes Store. So we're looking forward to that. I've just been in contact with this Dr. Benjamin Winchester that will be the keynote speaker. He's already confirmed that he thinks he can do that date. And so that's why we're planning it on a Monday. I normally don't like to do programs on Monday, but to suit him, we're going to do that because we wanted him so badly.
What date was that?
March 4th.
Oh, March. Okay.
Yeah. Another thing is, and I'm going to wrap up with this for my report today. Clancy, I'm throwing this on you at the last minute. Literally the last minute. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Clancy.
That doesn't make up for what you're about to say.
Actually, it's really pretty simple. But what I would like to do is, given what we've discussed about fairgrounds, Potter Fall, and all those kinds of things, I would like to see if we could set up a foundation to raise private funds to either rebuild, retool, or whatever we need to do at Potter Fall. We keep talking about the taxpayers on the dole for a lot of different things. And I just wonder if we can't find enough people of a benevolent nature to, and possibly some large companies, corporations, maybe, and foundations that would contribute to us redoing the building or building something new. Now, it's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of time, and we understand that. And I would just like to see if, Clancy, there's a possibility that probably you, but is that legal for us to do? Can we form a foundation to build that on county property? I suppose that may be the bigger question. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question, but I don't know the answer. I'm not going to guess.
Right.
We'll have to figure it out.
But
it could be it's done all the time. I don't know.
The fairgrounds were built, Potter Fall was basically built with donated funds. And I think a lot of the other buildings are named after large contributors. I'm sure the county paid part of that too, but I think a lot of that was actually done with private dollars. So maybe we'll try to do that again, if that's a possibility. And if it isn't, then we'll examine other avenues. But I think, I just think that's maybe the only way that we're going to get done what we'd really like to do.
We can talk about it further. There's a state statute, at least I know, on that we ended up way back when we were having the controversy out at Rocky Ford Park. There were questions about donations from the public to do work out there. And I know there's a state statute involving parks, at least.
Okay.
That talks about some of that. I mean, it doesn't give a blueprint for creating a foundation, but I'll see whether there's any restrictions or guidance.
Okay.
So we can talk about it.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's assuming the board wants that done. At least looked at. Sure. And that's what I was assuming.
And like saying, if you're doing a fountain, like under that Greater Manhattan umbrella, Greater Manhattan community.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It could be done there.
Right. Well, actually, the three most cities have started their own under them in the process of it. I don't know if it's all completely, but they worked on that.
It's good to know.
Rich?
Yes.
It goes along the line with what Vern Hendricks was saying, but I think if it can legally be done, Vern says there's money out there, but if we have a plan, so the commissioners would need to, say, okay, we're going to keep it and reconfigure it at where it's at, or we're going to move it somewhere. But Vern says, if you have a plan, people will contribute.
Mhm.
He says he knows he can find money, but you got to have a plan and you got to have some skin in the game. Just say, this is our vision. This is what we want. And I think Gary's got a great idea. There's several agricultural companies and frankly, even local ranchers, for the benefit of 4-H that I would think would be in favor of giving a fair amount of money to something like that.
I recognize that I haven't asked any of these people, but I'm thinking about organizations like the Kansas Farm Bureau, the Kansas Livestock Association, maybe some of the seed companies, Valley Vet, agriculturally related that have input into a lot of 4-H and FFA youth livestock and other programs. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do that. But we'll have to see if Clancy will can find out whether we can do that or not legally. So happy birthday, Clancy, again.
I'll give you my opinion whether you.
That's how they got it done back in the day, though. They didn't go through the attorneys.
Be my guest. I don't mind defending you.
That's what I think Teen always used to, her motto was always better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
There are things that get done that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my report. If you have any questions or thoughts, you can reach out to me anytime. Thank you so much.
Don't let him make reports anymore.
Especially not on your birthday, right?
Yeah, that's cruel. Wow. How many are you today, Clancy? Can I ask you?
Sure, 67.
67. Wow. Well, happy birthday.
Yeah, and I didn't like that. Wow.
At least I didn't say, well, I'd have thought higher.
Is that all?
Is that it?
And trees could give that. People.
And it looks really young nowadays, doesn't it? 67.
It does.
67 is now 47. We got to take 20 years off.
I always think of Clancy. He says,
Here's my knees. I say that, but my knees.
I know, it's not great.
it's like what Clancy says, here's someone that dies at 69 or so. Oh, struck down in his youth.
No, it's higher. It's like 92 and above. Oh, it's so much more. So much more ahead of them.
It's true. I mean, we have a lot more knowledge, a lot more medical things now, and we're aware of what can make us feel better, live better and longer.
I think we're a lot luckier.
Yeah, we are.
People of any age are generally healthier, I think, today than they were at the same age previously. Or have the opportunity to be anyway.
Anything else?
Either.
I'll move to adjourn.
So moved and seconded, a motion has been made to adjourn the meeting of October 19th of Raleigh County Commissioners. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.